Hello and welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast. We really hope that you guys enjoy this video. So if you do, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you do that, it really helps out the YouTube algorithm and we get to reach more people. So enjoy the video. Hello and welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast. I'm your host, Matt, and this is Ryan. We are bringing to you today from 555 Fitness, Pip. Pip, how you doing, bud?
Good, man. How are you guys? I like when you get on a podcast like this and we've been talking for like 10 minutes, just laughing back and forth. And now it's like this pretend like, hey, man, nice to meet you fellows. It's really cool.
Hey, we've never talked to you before.
Not until 10 minutes before we just spent 10 minutes talking and like laughing. I feel like I say this when I do the size up too. Like, I'm just recording. Like, I don't care about an intro. I don't care about anything. Like, people they missed out on some funny conversations we just had.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, there have been a couple times where we've had a few guests where we start talking and say, hey, we're not going to record yet. And then they have to keep asking, hey, when they're talking about a subject, are you guys recording? Like, no. Okay, well, let me tell you about this real quick. And I'm like, all right, you should tell that story on the podcast. Yeah. This is not something I'm going to talk about. I'm like, all right.
It's a really good story.
Really good. They got good stories, but I mean, there's a guy I was talking to recently about having him on, and he said, man, I've got some great stuff that I'd like to talk about, but I don't know if I want it out there. I'm like, you're about to retire. Like, who cares? Like, this is good stuff.
What are they going to do to you? Like, change the names. No one will know. Change the date, change the names, change your station, and it's all a whole new story.
Exactly. So, well, sir, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day just to come on to our show. We're super excited to have you on. So first, Pip, just tell us a little bit about yourself and the people who don't know who you are. Just tell us where you're from. Tell us about your career, and then also 555 Fitness.
Sure, man. That's a lot. That could fill up the hour right in all there. So I'll give you the
I'm gonna go ahead and relax.
The good old elevator speech, as they call it. But everybody calls me Pip. My real name's Rob Paparo, but it's just been Pip since high school, pretty much for me. I've just over 25 years in emergency services. Currently a lieutenant with the City of New Brunswick Fire Department here in central New Jersey, which is the best place in the world to live. Central New Jersey does exist for people that are listening, and I say this all the time because it's a New Jersey battle over where you live, let's just say, and how your accent sounds and things like that. So we even have Southern accents here in New Jersey, which totally perplexes me, but they live in South Jersey, and they don't sound like they live in New Jersey in my world. But I'm currently assigned to Engine 1 on the 2nd platoon. Much to some insults Matt threw around before the podcast started, like I am really short, and I did come from the ladder truck before I got promoted.
There you go.
Short guys can ride on the ladder truck. Like, I had a taller lieutenant or a captain, actually. No, he was a lieutenant then. When I was on ladder, and he always said it was going to be like the flying Walendas with me. Like, if someone was in a window, it was going to be like, hop, hop, and just toss me to the window. And like, cool, that sounds like fun.
Let's do it.
Yeah. But so that's kind of that whole gig. I got married to a physician assistant, Tracy. She's pretty much been with me for my whole fire service career type thing since I got hired. I had two little sons, Finn and Dex, 10 and 8, that are, two little mini Pips, as I tend to call them. They may appear in this podcast because they're home from school. So who knows what can happen when those little guys are around, we'll just say. Awesome. But it's pretty awesome. We do some cool stuff with them. And then, I wouldn't honestly be here talking to you guys or anything in the fire service really at all if it wasn't for 555 Fitness. And that has been my life for, what has it been? The past 8 years now. We're about to have the official 555 anniversary is in 2 weeks of when it started as a Facebook page 8 years ago, 2013. No, 9 years ago. Oh, Lord, I'm dating myself here, right? It's old. So it was started by a captain in Fort Worth, Texas, and he really wanted to push fitness in the fire service because cardiac-related deaths were year after year after year the leading killer of firefighters. So on Facebook, 9 years ago was a very different place than it is now. Is an easy way to put it. So he used to put out workouts every day, and he would put up pictures of, like, for lack of a better term, fire porn. And he would ask you in the pictures, like, are you fit enough to do this job? Train hard, do work. And I was totally digging his workouts because they were kind of CrossFit-y, and I was into CrossFit really hardcore at that time. But it got to a point where I couldn't do them at the firehouse because we didn't have a rower and the barbell was bent and it was all old equipment. So typical New Jersey dude, I kind of started to maybe complain a little bit on Facebook about what was going on. I wouldn't call myself a keyboard cowboy, as we know a lot of folks are now, like, bad mouthing what he was doing, but it was just like, bro, I can't do these workouts. And this was so early on. I think he asked me for my email address and then gave me his cell phone number, and because there was like no Facebook Messenger or anything like that, and I was like, all right, I'll give you a call, and we just started talking. And my wife describes this as like a bromance that sparked over the internet. And a few months later, we kind of were talking about starting it as a not-for-profit, trying to raise money, trying to get fitness equipment to departments that were like mine, that, it's not that we didn't want to buy fitness equipment, but we were spending our money on hose and gear. And I mean, we just went through almost layoffs in my department. They're not going to be like, yeah, let me buy you firefighters this assault bike and these bumper plates you want. Yeah. And that was pretty crazy. That's where it all started in a very short, brief way.
That's amazing.
You mentioned the fire department not wanting to buy that. So let's talk. My thing is I've had issues with wanting to get new equipment, better equipment at our firehouse. And I went out and I did a job for a church, and I said, hey, instead of payment, and this was a completely on my own, instead of payment for all the landscaping I did, how about I just get that squat rack over there? And they're like, all right, cool. So I got this big or Nautilus Pro commercial squat rack.
From a church?
Like, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole different kind of church right there, huh?
Oh, it was a great church. No, there's a lot of landscaping work I had to do. So I said, instead of just paying me for that, I'll just take the squat rack and then take that back to work. I ran into a few issues on trying to get some guys together to get some new equipment. And a lot of the problems I've had have been, a lot of the guys aren't just as educated on wanting to get new, better equipment. They're like, well, what's wrong with the stuff we've got now? Well, the issue is just trying to get guys motivated to want to go into the gym. Have you ever run into something like that where you just having trouble with the guys are just like, the equipment's not what we want it to be, and they don't want to get motivated enough to get in there because it's not newer equipment or better equipment? Have you ran into that issue?
For sure. I mean, like, we have given away, we're close to 40 fitness equipment grants now with 555. And when it comes to like the applications, typical firefighter type stuff. Maybe in the beginning, we didn't have the best record keeping, let's say, of where everything went. And then there's been a few people involved in the process, and we've changed a few people here and there. So, these are all kind of estimates of my best recollection and things. Yeah. But, we've kind of seen it all in the aspect of, oh, we don't want to work out because we don't have new equipment. Or we talk about in our grant, your narrative, and we've read a lot of narratives that say, when we get this equipment, we will begin. And the answer always back to that is, you don't need equipment to work out. You should be doing this stuff without it. It doesn't have to be new or fancy. And to be honest with you, I am a firm believer that the fancier the fitness equipment, the more useless it is. For the most part, you don't need these big Nautilus things or like this humongous, like what you would see in a global gym that 12 different people can lift on at the exact same time. Show me a firehouse in America where 12 firefighters want to even be in the same room with each other, much less a gym at the same time. Right. So you don't need this stuff. And it's funny, going back to my part with 555, when we started, he was doing all the programming on Facebook. I started doing just body weight workouts on Instagram. Instagram was like this brand new thing. And we're like, well, this seems like a good idea. That was my responsibility. So I programmed 365 body weight workouts that still appear on the 555 Instagram page today, because you don't need that equipment. You can still do it without it. So that's one of those things. Now, were you allowed to bring that squat rack to the firehouse?
Yes.
So can you believe it or not, I've run into departments that will not let you bring fitness equipment into the firehouse.
Really?
What? I wonder what the reasoning is.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few different reasons. Well, first, jump back a little bit. I've run into departments that do not allow fitness equipment in the firehouse because their insurance doesn't cover it. And I'm like, but your insurance covers a 19-year-old climbing up on a roof of a building that's on fire with a chainsaw.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that sounds too bureaucratic to me. That's what it really sounds like.
It sounds like a whole bunch of BS right there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So then too, we've also run into where they're like, no, you can't bring in any donated equipment to this department. We have to purchase it for you because, again, insurance, liability, all these things that you're like, why is this bureaucracy here when year after year the leading killer of firefighters is cardiac related disease? Like your insurance should want your firefighters to be healthier, should want them to be able to do the job that you ask them to perform. So that's been a really interesting one.
Since you mentioned the leading cause of death for firefighters year after year, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. I believe last year is what it made it seem like for 2020. The NFPA.org came out with 54% of firefighter deaths were overexertion, stress, and medical. And then the nature of injury was sudden cardiac death, which was the 22 of the firefighters, but 26 of them had the overexertion and stress. What amazes me is a lot of the lack of training or pushing for personal fitness for a lot of guys. And another thing that gets pretty tough is when I've heard it before too, from the bigger, fatter guys that come over and say, you need to work out more. It's like, well, hold on a second, bud. Like, I'm not really going to listen to you tell me that I need to work out more when you are the size of a whale or the size of a school bus. So I'm not going to take that and listen to you. I enjoy working out. I do. But trying to get someone else telling me that I need to work out, if I'm a person that doesn't want to pick up the weights normally, I'm not going to listen to a guy that's super fat or overweight to tell me to go work out. So I think that's a lot of our issues. Now, sorry if that offends somebody. I don't care if it offends you, but it's the truth.
It's totally the truth. I mean, it's the same thing too, where again, with somehow I somehow became some fitness expert in the fire service, which I'm like, seriously, just a little dude with a mohawk from New Jersey. I like to do the fitness thing. Like I'm like you, I like to work out, right? Yeah. And they talk about standards, there should be fitness standards and this, that, the other thing. And I'm like, do you know exactly how to get a firefighter to not do something? Tell them not only tell them how to do it and that they have to do it, right?
Yeah.
And everybody fitnesses differently. And like I said in the beginning, 555 was very CrossFit-esque, let's say. We never had a CrossFit affiliation. We never did, but it was something we both did. But that's not for everybody. So we try to make 555 fitness like for all. If you want to do strongman stuff, do strongman stuff. If you want to be a triathlete, be a triathlete. You want to run marathons, just do something. You're better off. You don't need this, stringent program or anything like that. You need to just be doing something. And so much comes from that, I talk a lot about the power of the group, like when you're working out with the guys on your engine company or truck company and you're sweating together, you're putting together that sweat equity, you're even putting together the workout and everybody has buy-in. One day on my shift, this was like the first time I got to trick them with this, I was making a lot of the workouts up because obviously they were my test folks for like, is this going to work for 555? Let's get you guys going at this. But one day it was like, oh, what's the workout today, man? Come on. And I'm like, I don't know, like, what don't you want to do? And a dude was like, burpees. Another dude was like, push-ups. Another guy was like, stairs. And I'm like, cool. All right, let me think. I'm like, all right, we're going to do a 15-minute AMRAP of 10 burpees, 20 push-ups, and 5 stair runs. And they're like, no, wait, you can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, Ken, you guys just told me I could make up the workout. I just, some reverse psychology on you, and it was fun. But
that's great.
That buy-in, even doing the things they hate, that's firehouse fun, right? And you turn that into fitness. So when you can do things like that, I think that's where we need to be, and not just in fire, because now 555 Fitness has grown to police, EMS, dispatch centers actually are applying for our grant, which I used to be a dispatcher way back in the day. And that to me is like, those poor folks just sit on there all day. Like I did that job. You do this, I've done it. Like, just like this, I've done it for 12 hours. I pressed buttons,
I did it for a week.
A week?
A week. And I said, screw this. I can't do this shit. I can't do it.
That could be the shortest dispatch career I've ever heard of, to be honest with you.
That
a
is
week.
You know what? I'll take it. I'll take it.
But yeah,
let's talk about. Oh, sorry. You
no. It's just one of those things that, like, as you get that buy-in, it changed that mentality. That's what we're trying to do. What started as I say, like 2 firefighters that just like to work out. Now it's motivate and inspire people to find a way to be healthier. That's what we're trying to do here.
That's awesome. And how did your crew feel after that workout you guys did, the AMRAP workout, with the most least liked things that they hated working out? At the end of it, do you remember how they felt? Like how?
Not specifically. I mean,
hate you still.
They still hate me no matter what.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like they're like, there's no doubt in my mind.
They put in for a transfer.
They bid out. That's what they did.
You know what I found, and things have changed a little bit, like in life in general. I honestly don't work out as much at work as I did then with those guys, the guys that I had. Just things change, it's just life, the way it goes. But during that time frame when we were all kind of in this together and doing it at the same time and all that, excuse me, after the workout, those high fives with each other, that meant more to me than any brotherhood thing I've heard in my fire service career. It's like that moment when you're after the fire and you guys got a good knock on something quick, or you did something well, except it was after every one of those workouts. So, we're not running fires every day in my department. You're not getting that feeling, but getting that kind of endorphin dump after the workout with those guys, that created that sense of fun. And I think that day, that I tricked you day type thing, was just a good, fun joke in the firehouse. You know what I mean? And that's the way they saw it. And trust me, they've made some workouts that they knew would punish me as well. So it's okay. We're all even these days.
That's awesome, man. Speaking about fitness and mental health, do you think when a lot of guys are having more of the issues with, now this is stuff that is related to me as well, depression, anxiety, the self-degradation to their own bodies, do you think a lot of guys that have been going through that have really been helped, that you've noticed, like around your personal crew? Have you noticed that at all with bringing in fitness to the firehouse? Have you had guys come out to you, reach out to you about, hey, I used to have this issue, then I started listening to what you guys were doing, and we're seeing what you guys are doing and listening to what you guys are talking about, and I've started to be more confident in myself. I've started to be more self-assured that I can actually do this job, or that I have some value. Have you noticed anything of that from that nature?
For sure, with 555. I mean, meeting, traveling to the shows, meeting people, Facebook messages, emails, however you contact, send smoke signals these days. There's so many different ways to get in touch with us out there. And having so many people talk about their stories and how finding 555 or following us, and not just me, there's a lot of other folks out there that help with 555 that keep us running. And on Instagram, if you were to search, the names 555, there are definitely some people out there that are not affiliated with this 555. They have been there for other reasons, let's say, but there are folks, and you never know who you're going to inspire, is what I always like to say. And when it comes to that self-doubt and that mental side of this, those are things that when I helped start 555, we didn't even realize the importance of it. We didn't even realize, I know personally I didn't, and I used fitness to overcome a really bad event that happened in my life, in a way without even realizing it. And it was running, after I was at the scene of a line of duty death. It was the anniversary was 15 years ago yesterday. It was Kevin Apuzio. I ran into some bad times. Things were not good for me. I was doing those behaviors that firefighters do that are commonplace, but are also coping mechanisms to deal with some of this stuff. And I got some help, and my wife was extremely supportive of me during that time. And I started running, and it didn't even realize that I was like running away my problems. Like that distance running was replacing the other things that I was using to help with that. So knowing that personally, knowing now, like I tell people now, I lift weights so I don't punch other people in the face type thing, but being able to explain that to people, and people in our careers, do this, put yourself out there a little bit, spend some time with yourself, put yourself first. It's a big problem we have in the emergency services, right? Because we're helpers.
Yep.
You know, maybe you guys got into this because you wanted to ride on the big red truck and do all that jazz, but most of us did it because we want to help people. I know my favorite part of the job is even if you get someone's keys. I don't know. Do you guys do that in Indiana? You get keys out of storm drains?
Yeah, we just did that like 5 months ago. 5 months ago at a great place.
I've gotten duckies out of it, man.
Oh, you save the duckies? I saved the duckies once. I saved the duckies. But right, that's what we do. We help others. And in the process of doing that, we forget to help ourselves. Because we get this attitude that anybody that puts themselves first, well, they're selfish assholes, you know, like this, that. I'm not putting myself first because I give myself 30 minutes in my garage to climb around on some weights. I'm taking care of myself. You know, that's like my mental break these days. So it's been the best part of this. And I call it a job, but I don't get paid for 555. But listening to those stories and knowing the people that just saw Bobby working out or Rob working out or CJ or Steven and said something along those lines, it just keeps us all going, man. That's why we're still here.
That's awesome. When you mentioned putting yourself first on it, not being a selfish asshole, but did I pause?
You did. I think you did, but go ahead.
Oh, I'm just kidding, man. That reminds me of what we talked about. I think it was in our first episode, putting the community first. Now, I know the word is just a little bit different there. When I say putting them first, what does that mean to me? What does that mean to me? They deserve the best. My parents live in the city that I work at. They deserve the absolute best, which that's why I try to be the absolute best for them, because I could be going to pull them out. Now, at any point at any time, if I'm a guy who's not working out, not taking care of my body, how am I doing my city a favor by not taking care of myself? How am I doing a favor? I can't pull those people out if I'm not strong enough. If I don't have enough endurance or physical strength to do the job, what am I going to do? I'm going to cause more issues for my crew and my shift if they're having to drag me out and not focus on the task at hand. So that's always been something that's in the back of my head, is these people deserve a monster. They deserve a dude that's a beast or a stacked huge guy that's strong and is not going to quit. I want you to run through that wall. Like that's what I always imagine. So with that, what are some things that you've noticed how to get guys into that mentality, or try to focus them towards getting that type of an attitude every single day, even when the day's suck?
Unfortunately, you know, not being stacked and huge, like I can't run through many walls because I'm just a little guy. I can fit through the cracks though. Like I'm just a little tiny dude that fits through the cracks.
Whatever you got to do, man.
So
whatever you got to do.
You run through those walls and I'll just follow you because that's what it is. But you know, it's funny because being a little dude too, that's what really got me on the path to fitness. Was taking it seriously. Like when I was in high school, I used to go work out with my buddies, and I don't really know what we did that whole time, but you know, we were in the gym doing stuff. But I took the Boston Fire test, and I kid you not, the dude in front of me was like 7 feet tall, and the guy behind me was like 6'8", and it's like, this is the biggest joke I've ever seen in my life. Like, did this set up? Did you guys know who I was before I got here? Like,
what am I even doing here?
Yeah, exactly. But I really thought about it. Like, I may have to pull a dude that size out. You know what I mean? Like, so I got to be the best version that I can be.
Right.
And pulling that guy out may mean tying a rope to him and going back outside and being like, hello, everyone, help pull, because this guy's so big. But, you know, you need to have that mentality. And trying to inspire people like that is something that I try to do with my size, to be like, look at me. Like, I'm just this little dude. I shouldn't be a firefighter. People still, when you pull up on some jobs, are like, how old are you, little boy? Like, thank you. I appreciate that. Luckily, my kids.
It's 42.
Oh yeah, 42.
You guys just throw it. This is like the self-awareness podcast. Like, let's just throw people under the bus and be like, I'll get closer to your camera. You can see the gray hairs in my mohawk there. Like,
hey, at least you have hair.
This is true. This is.
I mean, we don't.
I don't have any up top at all. So when you talked about being, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. When you talked about being like, hey, you know, if you got to tie a rope to that guy, then run it and tie it to an object, a BFO, a big front object, it ain't going to be moving. That's a way of working around. I'm not calling it a weakness. Working around your issues, working around whatever where your strengths are. Your weakness.
My issues.
Your issues.
It's a whole different podcast. My issues.
I'm not going to PC
right?
this. Working around your weaknesses. That's what it is. And I have a lot of weaknesses. I have a lot of those. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Exactly. I'm not the smartest guy in the room.
That's true. He's not.
I tend to be more on the strength side of things. I bring more of the brawn aspect, but I rely on the guys I work with to be smarter. They're smarter than me. They just are. So I try to increase my knowledge every single day. But when I've got a guy on my crew who's a guy about your size, and I know his strengths and weaknesses, which is why when we train together, I have an understanding of okay, hey, I know that he's going to die trying to drag me out, but he's also smart enough that he could figure a way around it. Like what you just mentioned, it's tying a rope to the guy, tying him to an object and saying, hey, this is where he's at. Here's the rope, like right here, go follow it. Like knowing what your weaknesses are and then working around them. That's also a pretty good thing to know as well.
And so that's something too, that with fitness, you discover about yourself, or at least I know I did, in the middle of these hard ass workouts, like take Murph or DT, these crazy hero workouts, ones that we made for 555 for the 343, halfway through that workout, you usually figure something out about yourself, either mentally or physically. Sometimes it's like, I can't lift no more. I can't do these deadlifts at 225. So I better make it 185, but I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to quit. I think I've quit 2 workouts in my career of working out, let's say, like where I'm like, no, I'm hurt. Something's wrong. Like if not, I have no pride that I'm dropping the weight or I'm doing, banded pull-ups or whatever you want to say towards something like that. But it goes for the same thing in the fire service. Like those times in the middle that I'm pushing through, that's when I come out. I don't work for a very big department. So we don't get help when there's a fire very rapidly. So you come out, you got to put another bottle on and go back in. And some days you come out again and you may still need to put another bottle on and go back in. Knowing that I work out like this, that other guys are out there training for this, I feel way more confident in bringing them back with me than someone like you kind of talked about before, who's just on that couch all the time and that type of an attitude. I think people think we need to be, because they use that word tactical athlete and different things like that. Like, look, we don't need to be way over here, and we definitely don't want to be way over here, which is 0, and this is 100. We want to just be in that middle. Maybe a little more than middle. So that to me, when I talk to folks, like that's what you're striving for. And as you age and get into your 40s and you start to realize like my body's not the body that it was, 17 years ago when I got hired. I'm not running down the stairs anymore. I'm holding on to the railing like my captain was when I got hired. And now I'm like, Jesus, I'm the old guy here. Like I'm holding on to a damn railing coming down the stairs because it hurts. But it's things like that. That body realization is a big thing for us.
It's another good topic to bring up as well, just realizing at that age, there's not as much as what you can do as what you did before. So having younger guys on the crew coming in, they can get a lot more of the physical labor stuff done. And then you've got that, that senior man knowledge of, hey man, why don't you go ahead and do all that stuff right there? I'm going to be right here. I'm going to watch to make sure you're good. I'll be fine.
I'm good. You guys handle that for me. I'm going to stand over here with my clipboard. Like good stuff.
Yeah, it's great. And then also with coming with the older generation coming in, guys your age, you're going to need assistance here shortly. And
shortly.
Yeah. So with that, comes in a really healthy diet. Some people hate saying the word diet. Some people like to say it's a lifestyle, bro. It's not a diet. Like, okay, cool. It's whatever you want it to be. But figuring that out, I always struggled with while at work, trying to have the guys like, hey man, chicken and rice is really what I do. Chicken and rice, broccoli sometimes, asparagus, and I change steak out for lunch.
That's when he feels fat.
That's when I'm feeling fat. So to me, I'm pretty bland when it comes to trying to have meals. Have you ever had any other issue? Have you had issues running into with trying to integrate diet in at the firehouse with the guys on shift? Because I've had that issue a few times. Not very often anymore. The crew I have is, they're more health oriented and minded. And so like, hey, let's eat something somewhat healthy today. Or, hey man, we're having pizza, which I'm not against pizza. I love pizza. It's fantastic.
Not that good in Indiana, by the way. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like,
Oh,
it's not New Jersey
really?
pizza. It's not that good in Indiana.
We have Papa
Even
John's,
after,
man.
what's that?
You don't
Papa
like
John's.
Domino's?
All about that Papa John's, man. Little Domino's. Like I said, I've been there for FDIC, and it's been, last call, and it's still not good. But I need it. I'm not gonna lie about that. But yeah. But so diet, as you call it, it's not a diet. It's your diet. Right? Like people have that word associated with diet, like that means that they're depriving themselves or they're doing something. We have to eat for our job, right? We need to take calories in because we could expend them out. It's what you're putting in and how much of that matters, right? So if I've worked with guys over my career that would drink a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi a shift. Ooh. And you're like, I probably shouldn't say brands, but soda, any soda, let's say a shit. I don't want to get you guys in trouble.
I'm glad you didn't say the C word one.
They could be your sponsor.
Coca-Cola. Don't talk about Coca-Cola. I hate that.
No, it's a bad one these days, I hear, right? Bad.
It's a horrible one.
So, but they're drinking this, and you're like, bro, do you know what you're putting in your body right now? Like, do you know people go on that show, The Biggest Loser, why they drop so much weight so fast at the beginning? Because they don't drink 2-liter bottles of soda anymore. They're not putting this nasty stuff into them. So folks think, and firefighters, of course, like we don't have a middle ground in the fire service. I don't know if you guys have realized that yet in your career. We are either like totally extreme or there's nothing going on about it. Like, I'm not trying to say you got to eat tofu or chicken and rice every single meal, but we also don't have to deep fry everything we cook. I mean, when I got hired in my station, we shared each other's cooking oil. It used to sit on top of the stove, and you would just reuse it. Cheap and unhealthy all in one shot, right? Yeah. And you were frying food all the time. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I like it when we have fried chicken, or we get like someone catches fish and we deep fry fish. But we're not doing that every single meal. Yesterday we had potato salad, corn, and our chef makes sliders instead of hamburgers, because then you get different cheeses and different things in the burger. It's very fancy. We're very, very, very what do they call it? Bougie. Yeah, bougie on my shift. We drink bougie coffee. We have bougie sauces. But my firehouse dinner, and it is always moderately healthy. We do fairly well. That's not what I eat on my normal life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more of a chicken and rice or steak and rice type of guy with a vegetable. But when I go there, this is my meal. You know what I mean? And that's what I do. So it doesn't have to be this strict thing. It just has to be something else. And even soda on my shift, I'm not speaking for the other guys' shifts, but we rarely have soda anymore with dinner. Occasionally they may buy like caffeine-free birch beer or like ginger ale is like a treat now. It's almost like I give my kids soda when we go to Chili's for dinner with them. Like, you can have a soda tonight. And like, if you see it at the firehouse, I'm like, oh, Dad's letting us have ginger ale tonight. But we drink water, and then we buy like the flavored seltzer. Water. There's a D. Water.
We call it water here.
And it's got a D in it when you live in New Jersey. Apparently, I have an accent when I say water.
WUDR, all right.
Something like that, yeah. You throw some flavored seltzer in your, I have like almost a full glass of H2O, and then I pour a little flavored seltzer in it. And that's what we're drinking all day. But that's a big part of it. So it does play a huge role. It's just everything in moderation,
For sure. That is everything in moderation. I struggle with having just a small amount of food, as hard as that is to believe. If there's leftovers, at home there's never leftovers, but at work all the guys always just turn to me and say, "Here you go," and I'm like, "Thank you," and then I just start eating again.
Yeah, but you're a big dude, right? You expend a lot of calories. You're working out. You're on a different caloric intake than someone else. It's just like working out with someone, same as eating with someone. We're all on different levels of that. I know Ron Ortiz, he's a firefighter in Florida. He's a CrossFit Games Masters athlete. He's won the CrossFit Games Masters. I had just interviewed him, and one of the questions that I asked him was, I've worked out with Ron, and it's intimidating to think about, I'm going to work out with this dude who's won the CrossFit Masters and is 6'5", like just, stud of an athlete. I know there are people out there that feel that way about me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't want to work out with Pip from 555 Fitness. He's a stud of an athlete, blah, blah, blah. It's the same as with eating. We're all doing it for ourselves. So I would think someone that looks like you from the top half of the body that I see, and you say you're working out a lot, you need to eat more than the average guy would.
Yeah.
So those leftovers are just what's in your normal caloric intake. Now, if all of a sudden, you started to soften up in places you didn't want to soften up in, or started to not fit in your turnout pants anymore or anything like that, well, either you're eating too much or doing too less when it comes to physical fitness. So you need that happy medium, like if you're out there hitting it hard in the gym, come in and eat a steak or two if you need it. If you're laying on the couch all day, it's not that steak or two is not going to work well for you.
No, it's not.
That's when he turns
delicious
to a vegetable.
Yeah. It'll taste delicious.
It always tastes delicious. I mean, don't even get me started on fast food either. Fast food is the devil. As good as it tastes, it's the devil.
Fast food. Yeah. Oh my gosh. When I worked in fast food, I worked at McDonald's. I was the best fry cook. You can ask anybody. I was the best.
He brags about this all the time.
I always do. I wasn't
that
guy that folded I wasn't the guy that folded it in and then filled it up, and then when you'd grab the fry box, it would just be completely empty. I was the guy that would make it nice and fat, and then stuff all the fries in there. I'm like, these people paid for all these fries. Are getting them all. I
had no idea that there was such a hierarchy in the McDonald's fry filling.
Well, he'll tell you all about it.
We're screwing people over. It was an abomination. I almost got wrote up about it because I was I'm going public with this. And then they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, okay, you got it. I was 15 years old. I ain't gonna do nothing. So when we're talking about this for the guys that don't have any knowledge on, because it took me a few years to start gaining knowledge on even just the basics of working out and eating healthy. I'm still learning a ton. I'm still very.
It's a lifelong goal.
Exactly. This is something that is just always moving forward. You're always trying to grasp at new knowledge and new ways of doing things. For the guys that have no knowledge in this and are just wanting to start out, maybe even flirting with the idea of starting out, what would be that you think of a pretty good way to just slowly introduce some simple workouts and a little bit of a healthier diet? What are some ideas that you've got?
So this is my cardboard canned answer for this, because I've been asked this question a lot. I have a lot of people, they approach 555, social media. I don't know you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see you every day. I don't know what your limitations are, what anything is. And I always go with, and a buddy of mine did this, who needed to drop some weight and I wanted to start getting fit, and I stole it from him. So I did not make this up, but just walk 1 mile each day for 30 days. Get yourself out there. That gives you, depending on your fitness level, 10 to 20 minutes a day giving back to yourself. And it's really not about the fitness. It's about finding that time, because that's always the hardest part, is to find the time. I mean, I'm allegedly a fitness professional, and I have a hard time finding the time between work, family, podcasting with you guys, being on Clubhouse, answering emails, talking to fitness companies. I got to get my time in. So what you find when people do this is they're like, wow, this is getting easier, because they're timing themselves. That first day, it may be, let's just say 15 minutes. The next week, they're down to 13 minutes. Well, we've just increased their confidence that they can do this, right? And usually by the end of those 30 days, they're messaging me back if they stuck with it. I'm running, or awesome. what they're depending on their fitness level, what they're calling a run, like a slow trot is usually what they say. But I'm saying that's awesome. Just keep at it. You have the time. So maybe now throw in some air squats or some push-ups from your knees if you can't do push-ups, or some jumping jacks, just simple things like that. Especially if you're on your own. If you don't have a group, what I found in CrossFit was that group of people all doing it together. It's hard to find that for some folks. So when it comes to fitness, I always recommend that as a simple plan. When it comes to the nutrition end, it's half your body weight in water every day. That's your only beverage. Maybe 1 cup of coffee. I definitely have more than 1 cup of coffee, but half your body weight in water. What's that?
Oh, I drink 10.
Oh, easy enough. I'm up there. I'm up there with you. But this is right on the other side of me. You know what I mean? Like this is like they make fun of me. It's like my whoopee. Like I can't go anywhere without my whoopee. Right? I even starting out, I was one of those guys that had the like time that you had to have it drunk by. Yep. Like just so I would hold myself accountable. Now I don't even.
Gap has one of those, right?
Yeah, I've got one of those too.
Yeah,
we all of us. Yeah, we all have gotten it.
Because it's one of those things that it's that important that you need to hold yourself accountable to it for a while. You know, now, listen, I don't know. Some days I probably drink triple my body weight in ounces of water. Other days I may not make it. But that's your first thing, is to eliminate those high sugary beverages and just go to water. And people, H2O, sorry, I don't want to confuse the folks out there with my accent. You also have folks that say
people are typing in water. Okay, is that a can't find it on Amazon anywhere.
I'm gonna write that. Look, I got my little Batman notebook where I write good ideas down in, and I think you guys just gave me a good idea.
We're on to
the market in it.
There you go. Hey, don't even worry about paying me for it. Okay, it's free. That's awesome. Have I talked about goals yet? No. Okay, thank you. I had it.
we didn't get into goals. It's on your notepad there.
All right. I always, in my head, I'm always trying to think of how am I going to ask that question? How am I going to answer a question? Did I ask that question? I don't know. Did
It's all right. We'll see. So I probably do the same thing you do, where, like I said, this is my new little Batman notebook that's filled with things. I could go back in here and I'm like, why did I even write this down this day? Like with a question mark next to it. It doesn't make much sense to me, but I wrote it down, and that means a lot, right? That's
it means something. At least you're writing it down. I was using my phone for things, and then I'm like, and then someone reached out to me and said, it doesn't look too professional. I'm like, you know what? You're right. It doesn't. So I switched to the old style of writing things on parchment paper.
The tablet?
And no, it's a notebook, but my handwriting's so bad, I struggle with reading it. So I'm kind of like, I'm kidding.
I say goals.
It's coals are cool.
Why am I talking about gals?
I have no idea what's going on.
What did that come into?
Yeah. So setting goals and achieving them. I love achieving small goals. There was this YouTube video of this guy who I can't remember. I believe he was in the Navy. He was given a speech over at a college while they were graduating, and then the first task he said to do every single morning is make your bed. Simple things. Setting a small goal and achieving it. It goes a long way. I was struggling when I first started into the fire service, setting goals and achieving them, because I set huge goals and I'm like, it's taken me a while to get to it. So when setting a smaller goal, it's something that I've been trying to tell some of the guys, like, hey, just pick one thing a day and then just go do it. That's it. Whether it's, hey, today I'm going to focus on really deep cleaning the bathroom because it's pretty bad. And then just set that, and then just go do it.
Be the best bathroom cleaner you could be. I mean,
be the best bathroom cleaner you can be.
I would come work for me if that's what you want to do. Like I could use deep cleaning in there.
He loves it. He loves it.
Pretty good at cleaning bathrooms.
It goes back to those McDonald's days. It's like in Coming to America. He started out on the mop. Soon he'll be on fries at McDonald's.
All these heroin addicts keep coming in and overdosing in the bathroom. Man, go clean it up. What? But he's still in there. Just brush him out. Yeah.
Dude, I worked before I got hired for the fire department. I worked EMS. Every day we'd go to this McDonald's for the same thing. The McDonald's is no longer there anymore, and nor is the person, but every day McDonald's bathroom, heroin addict. And this was going back before, it was the hip thing to do, because I'm old, you pointed out. Clearly we only have a heroin problem in the past 5 years type thing, but believe it or not, kids, 20 years ago, old man Pip was dealing with that stuff. So, and a bunch of other people out there in the McDonald's bathroom. But anyway, goals. Sorry, I digressed into a bad story.
That's all right. I got some good bathroom stories to tell you. Some McDonald's. So when creating a goal and achieving it, I've always tried to tell guys, set a small goal for the day and let's achieve it. When you're setting goals for fitness, like you mentioned earlier, hey, just walk 1 mile a day for 30 days. That's a small goal that you can achieve. It just takes time, dedication, and determination, and some discipline. Actually, a lot of discipline. I take that back. When you're wanting to figure out, am I wanting to increase my workouts, or am I wanting to increase the challenges every single day, or am I wanting to decrease? What's good? What's too much for me, and what's not enough for me? And then where's my happy medium? Or do I want to just push myself every single day to see how far I can go? And then with pushing yourself, how have you seen, from testimony from other guys, the changes in their life by just fitness alone. Because I know for me, it made a lot of changes. Like today, I'm going to be hitting 225 pound on just flat bench press 40 times. Let's see if I can get it. I can only get to 29. Okay, how about next week? I'm going to get 32. I'm going to get 35. And if I do everything right, the next week I can hit it 32 times. Okay, clearly I'm not there yet. Next week I'm going to get it at least 35 times. And then I'm pushing it and pushing and pushing. I hit my goal 35 times. I feel fantastic. Have you had testimonies from guys of stuff similar to that?
For sure. I mean, just my own. You know what I mean? Like, goal setting is huge. But the key with goal setting is they have to be attainable goals. All too often, and it's like that, wake up every day and make your bed. That is a very attainable goal. You should be able to do that every day. When we talk fitness, I mean, you have people that are like, I'm going to run a marathon in under 3 hours. And you're like, well, are you Kenyan? Like, because do you realize what running a marathon in under 3 hours is? Like, or, I'm gonna bench press 225 50 times. Well, how many times did you bench press 225? 12. And I'm like, well, to get to 50, that's going to take you about 70 years. So why don't we just try to go to 15 right now and see if we can get there? All too often, people set those goals far out there, and it's good to have a long-term goal. You start as a firefighter, you have a goal to maybe retire as a chief. That's great, but it ain't happening tomorrow. So today, you better be the best bathroom cleaner you can be for a very long time, and that's going to help you along that road. So the people that I find in the fitness world that are setting these attainable goals and are accepting of the failure. I set a goal to run a 4-hour marathon, and I did it in training. I went on a training run, and I was only supposed to run 24 miles, and I was kicking ass on my little training run there, and I'm like, I'm doing this. And I set my goal. I ran a 3:56 marathon all by my lonesome self out in the woods. Come to marathon day 2 weeks later, 4:07. And I'm like, so a few things about my marathon failure, or at least goal failure. It snowed in Orlando, Florida. I did the Disney marathon. There's a lot of magic in Disney. They can't stop the snow, and they don't know what to do when it happens. So I literally froze my what's off. Like, I was borderline hypothermic, but I knew that none of the EMS people in Florida would be like, that's hypothermia. He should probably go to the hospital. They never treated this before, so I just kept running, figuring if I got to the end. I read this in
a book one time.
Yeah, right. What are they? I mean, they were. You guys, you're from Indiana. They were. The water stops were freezing over because when people are running, they just drink the water and throw it down. They were throwing sand on the ice because they didn't have rock salt or anything.
Go to the beach.
Yeah, literally, they had wheelbarrows of sand that they were just tossing out because they had no way to stop. And the ice was, by the time my slow ass got to somebody's water spot, it was that thick of ice on the ground. So you're ice skating through. So I also blame that on my slow time. But again, it's what you do when that failure happens. You know what I mean? And it was a bit of a recovery for me. I'm like, damn, I didn't do that. But who cares? I ran a marathon. They gave me a medal. I was happy towards, after I warmed back up. But those goals, you have to know that you're not always going to get them. You're not always going to make chief before you retire. You're not always going to, bench press 225 50 times.
Oh, no.
But you're working towards it. No. I mean, I knew when so I don't lift that heavy anymore. I've kind of figured my old man body just isn't built for it these days. But who knows? Maybe I'll get back into it. Bench was always my worst, man. I just couldn't. 210 was the max one. I'm like, why can't I lift more than this? But it's all right? I got to that level, and I'm like, it's all right because I got a 420 deadlift and a 325 back squat, and I'm like, I'm good. Let's go. Let's keep moving on. But you have to set those goals, and people would be in one of the CrossFit boxes we had our coached in. You would have your PRs up on a big board, so everybody kind of saw them, and then what your next goal was. And I think when I was trying to get that 420 deadlift, my PR was 415. And then my goal was 420. And it was 3 months away. And people were like, why is that so far away? And I'm like, because it's really effing heavy. And it's going to take me a really long effing time to get there. But it's only 5 pounds.
But it's 5 pounds. But
Let's see
put a
you
2.5
do
on each side. Oh, that's what you're doing?
Yeah. So, and I'm working every day. I'm doing all this crazy shit to get to it. So goals have to be attainable and they have to be realistic. But you hear people, I hear people all the time, like, I tried to do this faster, or, I use push-ups with firefighters. Push-ups from your knees. I would rather have somebody do push-ups from their knees with good reps than that like wavy, worm breakdancing move that you see some people do that they call push-ups. And they're like, no, those are girl push-ups. And I'm like, listen, bro, I will call some girls up right now and have them come over and they will out push up you in a heartbeat. So maybe you shouldn't call them girl push-ups.
Got so many jokes.
Do you call them girl push-ups? Do you call them girl push-ups, Matt?
Do I call them girl push-ups? Yes, I do. Because when I was growing up in school, I'd go to see the boys got to do 30 push-ups, and then the girls they'll do 5. And I'm like, wait, what?
Well, there's a little bit of a difference there. I mean, there's some structural differences between the bodies.
I get that part. That's how I get that part. But talking about improper form, you mentioned. I've noticed just and where I go to work out, there's hardly any firefighters there. So I'm usually just there just with regular, just civilian folk. And then I noticed there's a ton of injury with guys, and especially with guys coming out of high school. I'll see them going into the gym, and then they're trying to deadlift, and they're looking like a cat with their backs arched over the way up. And then I see firefighters every once in a while when they're in the gym, and I'm like, ugh, like you could really hurt yourself. Then I hear a lot of horror stories on guys injuring themselves and working out, whether it's from CrossFit, whether it's from just simple running. I mean, my knee, I don't have the best knees in the world. So when I run, I have to build myself up to that. So I've got to recognize that, hey, I either got to wrap my knees, or I got to take some glucosamine, or I've got to be taking care of a couple other things to make sure that I can go run. Or like when guys are injuring their backs, injuring their shoulders, their elbows, their wrists, whatever, it comes down possibly to improper form, lifting way too much weight, or just diving into it way too hard, way too fast, way too soon. Has there been anything that you've kind of set as a mold for, hey, this is a good way to recognize your form's not that great. You need to work on that. Have you found a good way to tell guys, hey, your form sucks, bro? Without being
I'm from New Jersey. I'm like, bro, we gotta work on that form. Like, it depends on the person, you know what I mean, and how you approach them. But it's something that's really important. When people are like, well, when I back squat, it hurts. Then don't back squat. You know what I mean? Like, then maybe you should lower the weight. Bro, what do you mean lower the weight? Like, I can lift it. Just because you can lift it doesn't mean you should be. You're supposed to do this. There's gonna be some pain. It's just like that difference between there's a huge difference between, are you hurt or are you injured? Right? Like, after a fire, I'm hurt. I am hurting after a fire. I'm not injured. I don't have an injury like I separated my shoulder, that type of stuff. So you have to always keep that in mind. And good form is key. And that needs to be a huge part of your training, and training with others or videoing yourself. I work out a lot by myself these days, just the way life goes. I'm not videoing myself so I look cool on social media and put it on there. I mean, I definitely put it on social media and make good jokes about it and things like that. But I'm also looking at my squat to be like, was I below parallel? How did that feel? Or was I at parallel? Looking at my deadlift, like you said, to see if I'm hunched over or if I'm up, squeezing my back. I'm fortunate my wife likes to lift, and we correct each other all the time. She does not take the criticism from me as well as I take it from her, let's say, but that's, marriage, and you just get over those facts. But it's those things that you have to constantly do. And I try to tell people, I love the big three, back squat, deadlift, and some form of a press, whether it be bench press or overhead press. Training those movements as emergency service providers actually help us improve at work, because those are the movements we need to do correctly. Because how many guys do you know have picked up a tool and been like, oh, my back, or a patient and had a back injury? But chances are good that's because they were bending like this and not squatting down like that. And that's the first time I've ever done that with hand movements. Usually I just get up and do it, but I'm not in my gym and I'm attached to the computer, so I got a little hand movement there. But think about that, right? If you're continually putting your body through those stresses during a workout, there was a time when I was a paramedic, I was starting an IV, and I was down in like a full-on squat doing it, getting the IV, getting everything set up. And afterwards I stood up and my partner was like, I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you called a doc? And he's like, nah, I just been staring at you the whole time, seeing how long you would stay in that squat position while you started the IV. Like, how did you just do that for like 4 minutes? I'm like, I don't know. Did I? It was just my natural form to be able to do that. So you need to train those muscles so you don't get injured.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine. What were you doing for that 4 minutes?
Just I was just standing there watching me. You're like, yeah, literally.
Like, you trying to like control your arm as you're going in? Like, I can't get it. I'm shaking too much. I could literally waiting. Workout the day before,
waiting to see me shake. Yeah, good times. I had some really great EMS partners. He was one of my best EMS partners. One of my best EMS partners. Awesome. But I'm like, what were you doing that whole time? Just watching you, bro. Just seeing if you're gonna do it or not. Like timing me. Impressive. Like.
There's been some times where I've been super sore and I'm trying to first of all I just drive mainly, and I've been trying to go, I'm like, my shoulders are hurting so bad, I can't turn. Like I couldn't imagine trying to be a paramedic and then trying to get a line on somebody when my hands are shaking. No, thank you.
Good. And you're like, here I come with the needle.
You start shaking their arms, so it's kind of matching up with both of them.
I mean, when you're a paramedic student and it's the first time, you're like, there's like, I'm like, please, like, thank God you're like super old, or like you hope that person is like maybe unconscious and they don't see you, especially in the back of a moving bus in the beginning. Like you're moving and like everything's shaking, so you can kind of fake it. Like your shakes are like the bumps of the truck, but it's really you shaking. So you shake the backside of your body as your hands are shaking.
Oh yeah,
it was an experience and a half right there. It was some scary days as a paramedic, but.
You're not a paramedic anymore, or no?
No, so technically, I'm an inactive paramedic in New Jersey. So New Jersey being New Jersey, we only have hospital-based paramedics. So at the fire department, firehouse, where I worked full time, I was only just an EMT. So I was working as a paramedic part-time. And then as 555 started growing and I started traveling more and doing more things with 555 in the fitness world, I was working like one shift a month as a medic, maybe one every other month. And like every time I was going in, stuff was new. And it wasn't like, oh, we switched from this brand of gauze to this brand of gauze. It was like, yo, the RSI meds changed again. And I'm like, wait, I just learned the math for the old ones. And like, here I am going to paralyze somebody. Like, and wait, hold on. What were the numbers again? Somebody, like, I had really good partners most of the time. But I just got to be like that perennial new guy. And it was not working anymore. So I switched. I went inactive, just a lonely EMT now. It was a good time. I really liked it.
Hey, how much baby aspirin do we give?
Yeah, there's no shame in being an EMT. There's no shame.
None at all. It's just the EMT. But yeah, so it was a good time for sure. But you know, that fitness world came calling, and it was one of those things too where one of my like main preceptors, like and kind of like my mentor through paramedic school, who I went on to work with, a few years, maybe like a year after I stopped, had told me a little story that I didn't know. And he was like, dude, I was really pissed at you when you went inactive. Like, because he's like, you worked so hard and you were a really good medic, you know, you were patient first. And like, yeah, you weren't always the hippest when it came to math on something new that switched, but like you were all about helping that patient that day in the back of the ambulance. And he's like, but watching what you do with 555 for the overall community, he's like, I see you're able to help so many more people each day than just being the paramedic that was in the back of the bus. And at the time, I didn't even think about it that way. I just thought like, this is cool. I'm doing some cool stuff with fitness and it's fun and we're having a good time helping some folks. But you didn't really think about the impact doing something like even what you guys are doing with this podcast and getting a message out there, you know, can do for folks. And this has been like the best ride of my life. Like this crazy roller coaster that's 555 has just been unreal.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
You got any questions?
No, you're doing great.
I thought you had I thought you had a question.
Okay. He just wanted to say it was great. I mean, he could have literally, he could not be hearing me right now and just wait until my mouth stops moving. And he just keeps saying, this is great.
Hey,
like we talked about before.
Is this microphone on? I can't hear.
Oh yeah, no, I cut yours off, bud. No, I'm just kidding.
Just nod your head up and down. It's great. What you're saying is great, man.
It's fantastic. Oh, so
we
sorry.
had microphone issues at the beginning.
See, you guys missed that whole microphone issue story.
Oh, it wasn't that bad. I've had worse. I've had a lot worse problems pop up. Some just stay with you forever. So, mentors in the fire service and mentors in fitness world. Who have been some of your mentors in the fire service, how they affected you, and who have been some of your mentors in the fitness world and how have they affected you in the changes? And have you ever met them before? If you've had some that you never met.
Man, that's like a deep question. I wasn't expecting to get this deep in this one. You didn't warn me of this question before.
The whole hour of us doing this. You're not comfortable.
Yeah, now you hit me with the deep stuff, man. We did the whole water joke, and I thought we were going to a different level here. Now we're back
I thought we were breaking the ice. I thought we were breaking the ice, the water.
The depths of mentorship. You know what I mean? Like, I've been fortunate to be around. So my father was a firefighter, same department that I worked for. He was retired before I started. And so I've been really fortunate to know a lot of good dudes from my own department that kind of, when I got hired, kind of helped me along, helped me in the process and things like that. And there's been folks that were just hired a few years before me to guys that when I got hired had, 24 years on the job. So having those local mentors are always a good thing. But then when you talk about like the fitness world and this bigger world that's out there, when you finally start to discover it. And I think nowadays, here comes the old guy talking type stuff, like nowadays, it's so much more attainable to have these folks. I probably wouldn't have thought of, let's say, like a Jocko Willink as a mentor of mine 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like I would have thought of him as a dude who wrote books or whatever. But now when you get to read his books and you can interact with him, at an event, like I got to go to an event and met him, take one of his leadership training classes.
That's awesome.
He was such a cool dude. I met him in the hotel lobby when I was checking in. There he was talking to a few people. And my older son, Finn, had just gotten promoted in jiu-jitsu the night before I left for Texas. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, would you mind FaceTiming my son to congratulate him on getting a stripe in jiu-jitsu? And he was like, no, dial him up. And like, here's this guy that like, I was already on like 3 of his books, like, listen to his podcast, FaceTiming with my son. And it was like he turned it on too. Like, where he's like, hey, Finn, you know who this is? Like right in his face. It was awesome. But like, you get that. Yeah. And you get these folks out there that are just cool. So obviously Jocko is one of them from reading his leadership books. I've been really fortunate in the fire service end too. Well, I bounce all over the place, fireman ADD, like Chief Turpak wrote a bunch of books, Chief Salka, I was able to meet him. It's just this awesome ride. Fitness wise, there's some folks, they're probably not well known because they own fitness equipment companies. Mm-hmm. But I've been able to meet them along the way, and they've really mentored me on the business side of all of this. Because fitness is a business, right? It's a multi-gajillion-dollar business. And it is very ugly in some aspects of it and very not ugly. So a lot of those folks have been key in how 555 runs, trying to keep it as honest as possible, trying to make those deals with people who are going to, keep us going on that path. Because there are definitely folks out there that like, oh, hey, I love firemen. Buy my protein powder, fireman. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but their protein powder could be crap, or like, I love Chuck Norris. I think he's awesome. But, like you got the Chuck Norris perfect push-up as seen on TV in every firehouse in America. Get on that thing and do some perfect push-ups.
Yeah.
What's that?
Get the total fitness gym at your house. Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Whatever, Chuck.
Yeah. Chuck was making that money. You know what I mean? Like he didn't care what the product was he had out there. But so when I think of mentors on the fitness end, like people like that, and then to be honest, a lot of it too is the folks that work with me with 555. The folks that I've met through things like podcasts and Clubhouse, being able to talk to them. You don't even know they're your mentors, they're your friends, but you're kind of mentoring each other. I think people give that up too, where they think someone like, just to throw a name out there, like a Bobby Holton has to be a mentor because he's so far up there and whatever you want to say. But in reality, The dude sitting next to you, boots backwards in the engine, could be the best mentor you've ever had in your life. So I've learned to really appreciate, as my world got bigger, learn to appreciate those folks that are closer to me.
Yeah,
I mean, you're absolutely right about like the whole podcast thing. I mean, the whole clubhouse. I look for you, Captain Sanders. I mean, and then
Captain Sanders is awesome.
Oh,
Dude,
he's incredible. And then Ryan Pennington. I love when you guys do a room together. It's great. It's pure gold. You wouldn't know, but
I don't know because I'm not a communist. I don't have any.
So and two, here, if you look at this, I wouldn't have met. I don't even know how I met Ryan Pennington. To be dead honest with you, I mean, he had views from the Jump Seat podcast. I was running 555. We must have crossed. However, we crossed paths. I don't. That would probably be a good thing for us to talk about. We get his show back up again or mine back up again. But
I think he just did one.
Did he do?
Well, the other night in that room, I thought he said that he had actually recorded one.
Oh, so maybe.
I don't think he put it out yet.
But you look at somebody like that dude, right? Here he is, West Virginia hoarding guy, heavy content. Sorry, can't call it hoarding anymore. People get offended. Can't do that.
Call it hoarding.
Yeah, we don't care.
I'll say hoarding. I'll say it for you. Hoarding.
But somehow we cross paths on this crazy ride that we're both on. Maybe at a show, maybe at something. I know you like to work out with sandbags. I don't know. But here we are together grooving on a podcast. Total almost polar opposites when it comes to anything in life. But I learned so much from him. You know what I mean? He learns from me, and you have that ability through things like this, through podcasts, through getting to understand people. You know, it's why I like something like this, where it's just a not planned conversation, and it's just three firefighters kind of BSing. Like, this is the kitchen table, right? Where you're just BSing, trying to solve the life's world problems, you know? And there are definitely some folks out there that are not cool. They may seem cool online. They are not cool.
For sure.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you get so many of these folks, you know, Jeremy Sanders from his shirt is right over there, and I can't think what's his
Crew First.
Crew First. He just sent me a T-shirt type thing. He and I kind of met more on Clubhouse. We talked a little before on Instagram, but now in the past 2 months, I mean, that dude and I talk a few times a week now about this, that, the other thing. Awesome. So you get that really big world, and you get to take all these different views and opinions and put them together. And that should be creating a better firefighter, a better world, better whatever you want to say. Sure. And you guys are a part of that now with your podcast. You know, it's awesome, isn't it?
That's really cool.
I love it. It's been incredible.
And the thing is, too, anybody can do this kind of stuff. It's not just the simple few of each department getting together like, oh, we're the best of the best. No, like, I'm clearly not the best. Like, we're clearly not the greatest. We're just guys that are just like, hey, this is what we're interested in, and kind of put ourselves out there. We want to learn more. When I pass this information along, I have a horrible memory, so I just kind of really want to just record a lot of these conversations so I can go back to it later on. I want the guys in the next 10, 15 years to see stuff like this. Like, you can be the best firefighter you want to be. It's just, it takes time, takes dedication, determination, and discipline. You just got to put those together and just do it every single day. Anybody can do this kind of stuff. Did you ever imagine when you were a younger fireman ever being a part of this whole 555 fitness thing, you know, being as popular as you are? Did you ever imagine that?
I wake up every day and I'm like, what? Like, it's my kid made a joke. I don't know, let's say like whatever, 2 years ago, we went on a vacation, and I, if you can believe this or not, forgot my hair product before we went on this vacation, right? How crazy is that? Right? But this is how it goes. So I had a baseball hat that's why whatever I did, I threw the hat on and didn't bring any hair product. We're away for like 4 or 5 days, and it's the last day, and my big guy is like, Dad, this is like the first time we've ever been anywhere, because he really doesn't know much. He's 10, so like his whole life has been 555, let's say, or dad doing 555, right? He's like, this is like the first time we've ever been anywhere where nobody recognized you. And I'm like, really? You think? Like I'm trying to put it together now, like piecing the days back together. And he's like, I think it's because you wore a hat all week and no one could see your mohawk. And he had like a little accent and like a little speech impediment type thing going. It's like, your mohawk. And I'm like, oh, people actually notice me because of that. And like, you do. I never would imagine. I tell people this all the time. This was not in my trajectory at all. It was all because I thought fitness was important, and I thought it would be cool to try something different, this Instagram thing, and I can very distinctly remember the night in December asking my wife when Larry asked me to help him with 555. I'm like, hon, this probably isn't even going to be a thing in like 3 months. Like, we're not going to start a not-for-profit. Nobody's going to buy a T-shirt we design. Like, we can't even sell it. How am I going to sell a T-shirt online? I don't know how to do this crap. And here it is, almost 9 years later. Like, and I'm still learning every day. That grant, the first grant we gave out was $3,000 worth of fitness equipment. This year, we're giving out 3 grants, each valued at over $15,000 worth of equipment, training, and beverages, and protein and supplements. Wow. It's crazy how this happened. I still can't figure it out.
That is a blessing. That is just so cool.
It's been pretty amazing, and the ride just keeps getting better. You know what I mean? Like, granted, it's not perfect. There are more bad days with this than there are, good, let's say, where it's like, oh, this piece of equipment didn't get delivered. I mean, last year, I thought about shutting the whole thing down. Like, that's how low last year got. We didn't get to travel. We got that re-spark that we all got when we were together and meeting people in person. So I was like, this maybe we're just going to end it. We'll end it here. We can end it clean. You know what I mean? We were about at even type thing. But luckily, some friends helped out and stepped up and kind of kept me in the loop and kept me in the game. And here we are this year with knocking it out of the park again already.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Where do you see 555 Fitness going in the future? Where do you hope to see it? What would you like to obtain? And then realistically, where is it going to
go? I would like to keep it with the same mission first. Just trying to make emergency service providers healthier. There's people that are like, why don't you start your own gym? Why don't you start to charge for programming? Why don't you train people? It's not our lane. Our lane is just trying to motivate and inspire. So if we can just keep doing that and keep helping out these departments that maybe have nothing, because believe it or not, there are more departments that have zero fitness equipment in them and lack the money to buy it, to purchase it. It's not even that their city doesn't want to. It's that you have these smaller volunteer departments that are barely able to get turnout gear for their members, because they have no funding. But they care about their members enough to say, look, we're using tires and old hose and again, hand-me-down Chuck Norris total body gyms in their firehouses. Yeah. So that's where we're kind of stepping in, and being able to expand 555 to EMS and police. That's just been a great part of it too, because they're sort of in the same boat. Police departments usually have a gym in them, but most aren't allowed to work out on duty. So I think that's how they got the gym built in earlier than the firehouse, where that you're on duty type thing waivers it a little bit. But it's been cool. We one grant so far has gone to a police department. And I'm not sure the numbers. We just closed our grant round for the first grant of 2021 we're in now. I don't know the numbers of how many police departments, but I know they're up already. So being able to help them is great too.
See, it's kind of cool. We get a lot of cops that come in to our firehouses, and that will utilize the gym. And it's cool. We get that bond with them. We get to, so it's cool.
That's something too with 555, we're not cops, we're all firefighters. We didn't think I took the right test. I'll tell any cop that any day of my life. Like, you got in that line, I got in this line. Sorry, you picked the wrong one. But when we started 555 Fitness, we didn't think we'd be helping police departments. So our name alone is very synonymous with the fire service. So we're trying to, we changed our logo, a little bit of an olive branch. We put a police shield there. We're trying to reach out. They have a very different, obviously, a different view on social media than we do, a different view in the public's eyes than we do. So it's been unique. Now the new challenge for me is trying to get that outreach to them. And we just yesterday announced a partnership with a not-for-profit that is run by police officers up in Northern California. And they have an event called the Never Forgotten Games. It's going to happen, is it Redding, California? I want to say it's Redding, California, August 28th. It's teams of 4, and it's a one-day fitness competition. And they're going to donate part of the proceeds to 555, and we're going to, in turn, donate fitness equipment to departments in the Northern California region with that money.
That's cool.
So police, fire, and EMS. Yeah. So it's a really cool thing. And they are pretty cool for a bunch of cops, you know, and what we're dealing with back and forth. I like to remind them that, like, you guys are pretty cool. They have a little idea for a donut challenge, a fitness donut challenge, which I was totally down with. I'm like, we are going to crush you.
He would.
I'm down with that too.
You have to run though. There's running involved as well. So
he's
get
out.
Your glucosamine and chondroitin in.
Yeah, I'll get a little scooter I can ride. I'll cheer you guys on. I'll just keep eating the donuts.
You just keep eating the donuts. You could be my designated donut eater. But I think, and so where I see us going is just continuing this trajectory. I don't know where I'm going with it. You know, it's been a while of doing this, and I often wonder, like, could someone else do it? You know, do I say, like, do I put a 10-year stop for me? Do I move into like more of like a board of directors type position? Who knows? Just see where tomorrow takes us. You know what I mean?
Awesome. That is really cool, man. I mean, you've got a pretty good journey ahead of you if you stick with it, I think. I mean, this is going to really go up. It's not like,
I hope it's only gone, you know, and like I said, there's been downs. Like, don't think we're on this like straight, here we go. Like there's been, you name it, we've had those kind of problems. But it's that wanting to help more people. And I feel like wanting to inspire more people. You know, like, I'm always happy when another first responder not-for-profit reaches out to me to ask me about, you know, how did you deal with this? Or what do you think about this? You know, my first answer is always, don't do it. Don't start a not-for-profit. It's really challenging, and it's not very lucrative in any way, shape, or form. But if you stay based on your mission, you stay in your lane, and your main goal is to help others with that, you're going to reap the rewards.
Awesome.
That's kind of how we were. We didn't, you know, like Matt joked with you earlier, you know, we didn't think people were going to watch us. But it's so cool. Like, when you do get a message from somebody that's like, hey, I'm having this problem at my firehouse. Yep. You know, you have any advice? And it's really cool that kind of stuff happens. So
something that you talked about, you put out there, someone else is having that same problem somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's even for me, people don't realize, like, I guess, because again, when you've been in this for a while and you run something that's kind of well known, like, when people meet me, I'm just as excited to meet you as you are to meet me. And I don't even know who you are. But when you tell me, like, you know, I started following 555 and lost 50 pounds. I'm like, give me a hug, pre-COVID, right? Of course, but, you know, give me a hug. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'll still give someone a hug.
Matt literally will hug everybody.
I'll hug just about anybody.
But, you know, like when those folks, when they're like, dude, you're like kind of like, you're genuinely happy for me. And I'm like, people aren't. Why wouldn't I be? You just told me something that I'm a part of helped you. You know, that solidifies, that gets me through another week of saying, all right, I used to ship the t-shirts at 3:00 in the morning, and I'd be on Instagram Live with like 2 other people, like, look, here's me folding another t-shirt. What do you want to talk about right now? While I'm ready, my kids cry. I got to go carry holding a kid in this hand and folding t-shirts in this hand. But it was what I was doing that I didn't even realize. And like, even my kids, like, when they see these people stop me somewhere in another state and talk about 555, you know, they see something positive. They see that all these hours are worth it. It's a huge deal, man. And like, for folks like you guys starting the podcast, you know, somebody recognizes that KTP on that shirt when you're at a bar or you're anywhere. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm missing FDIC this year, or I missed it last year. I'm going to miss it this year. But those are things that I know we'll get back to again, you know, because that whole time was such a recharge, because most of it was spent around people just being cool people, cool, like-minded people. Easy way to put it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
A quick question I meant to ask this earlier, but for guys first starting out, or even, senior men in the fire service starting out into working out, Do you think a part of it could be either a pride issue of like, hey, I don't like making a change? Or do you think a lot of it could be a fear of, what if I fail? What if I fail starting this?
Both in combination. You know what I mean? Pride is one of our worst demons that we have. You know what I mean? And you have to overcome that fear to get up off the couch and walk out there. But what those folks can't realize is I'm not out there lifting to be better than you. I want you to come out and, like you said before, be that best version of yourself. You know, so I want you to come in. And if I'm doing regular push-ups and you're doing push-ups from your knees, I don't care. We're both doing push-ups together. That sweat equity, that puddle of sweat you left and that puddle of sweat I left, that means more than me than anything else. So you have to kind of get over that fear and just come out and be a part of this group. Hang on one sec. What's up, buddy? Sure, man. Go ahead. No problem. Asking for a healthy snack, my little guy, like running away.
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese. You heard it, man. Better listen. There's way worse snacks that Kid can have, and he can make it himself. You're welcome, buddy. Want to come say hello? Come on. That's
what's up, bud?
They all said, "What's up?" Say, "What's up?"
What's up?
How's it going, buddy?
He's doing like
he's going to make his mac and cheese. You know what it is more than the mac and cheese? It's that he can do it himself. Because like microwave packet. So at 8, when like that independence came and it wasn't just cereal, like he's cooking his mac and cheese. He said, man. So hey, that's part of the battle.
Yep.
Right. And for him too, he has dyslexia. So he reads things differently and just different things, but like everything he does, that's like step by step, he's perfect at. So it's one of those things, like he follows the steps, and I love watching him grow like that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, and that's a huge part of my life right there. It's just being dad. You know, I love that part. But back to that pride and that fear of failure and that fear, you gotta wipe that out because we all have it. You know, I use an example in again, like those workout communities, like I'm always chasing someone in a workout and someone's always chasing me, right? And even if I'm first, if I'm like ahead in the race, I'm still chasing an invisible person out there, you know, that invisible hair that I'm going after, you know, that's how we have to be. But being able to do it together, that's what it's about. So let's get you started. You know, you got to put that fear aside. You got to put that pride aside. It's going to suck. For anyone out there starting first day, it's going to suck. But day 2, that's going to suck too. And just to kind of know, we've called it out. I'm 42 years old. Every day I step into the gym, it still sucks. You just have to embrace that suck and keep moving forward with it and learn to love it. And that's the suck that I love, man. Being that puddle of sweat at the end when I can't stand up of a workout, some of the best times of my life right there, especially if I did it with some awesome people, you know, like my 555 brethren or the people on the company with me or just you two guys. Okay, let's go do a workout. Let's knock it out, you know?
You said, you mentioned what fitness is about. You mentioned what working out is about, challenging yourself, challenging others around you. I also see it as, I mean, you kind of mentioned that was your world. Your son is your world, you know? You're going to be there for him. You're giving yourself the best chance to be there for him after you retire. What's the average life expectancy of a firefighter after they retire? 5
to 10 years.
There you go.
We don't rate. It's not even a kept number. Like, it's really not like it is. People are starting to log that, but it's 5 to 10 years. You know what I mean? That's crazy talk.
And what are we doing right now to prepare ourselves for that future? Well, right there, I mean, you're preparing yourself for the best future that you can have with, I mean, your kids will be grown by that point, and hopefully when we have children, they'll be grown at that point, but you're giving yourself the best opportunity to be there for those kids when you're making those decisions, making better lifestyle decisions, whether it's your diet, whether it's fitness, just working out all the time. That's giving yourself that opportunity for success for later.
Let's say I may have been in some older adult type drinking establishments with many a fireman in my career. Let's just say, if that would be the case. And a lot of times in those establishments, after some people have several adult beverages, they start to talk about their retirement and their life in there and how amazing it's going to be and all these plans. But yet they're not doing anything to secure that for themselves, except going through the work motions to get you there. Where exactly what you just said, you need to be taking care of yourself physically, mentally, so that when you do retire, you can live that long life after. I mean, I'm really fortunate. I get to retire at 50. I have a whole nother life set planned for when those days are coming. And it's what I'm looking forward to. And it's why I work out so hard now, not just for what we talked about before, being the best firefighter for those around me in my community, but for my kids and my wife after I go. I want to collect that pension as long as I can.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the goal. It's everybody's goal is collect the pension.
Yeah.
I was going to say, collect the pension for as long as you can. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And so obviously that it makes sense. It's like, okay, well, I really want a chance and I don't want to work out. I don't want to do this. I'm going to go smoke a bunch of cigarettes, drink a bunch of beer. I ain't going to work out at all. I ain't going to take care of myself.
Yeah.
I should be fine.
It's crazy that you're like, yeah, I can't. It's like we talked about before. If you tell a firefighter something, like put it in policy form, it's not going to happen type thing. It's that same type of theory. Like you can say it till you're blue in the face. Some folks, it's just not even worth trying for. And you say, hey, sorry, what am I going to do? I do feel like in my career, I'm definitely seeing a change in the newer folks coming in, though, like less smoking, more fitness related. There's definitely more opportunity for them to seek help that they need, whether it be mentally or physically than there were when I got hired. And a lot of that too was just because we had a lack of knowledge. But these days you see that change. So I do see that as a positive. I don't think the health related concerns with the NFPA, let's just call them, that's a leading killer of firefighters, health related concerns. I don't know if that's ever going to change to not be our leading killer because, again, not knowing this when we started 555, but think about suicide, think about substance abuse, think about injuries, think about all these things that healthier people do see less of, though, but they all come together in our job. So having that younger generation kind of starting off on a better foot, I think that's a key for a big change for us.
A couple of things there that you did mention with the NFPA, number one leading cause of death for firefighters is cardiac event or overexertion stress medical. Another thing that kind of reminds me of is, what about fire related incidents? It's, rapid fire progress and explosions is 13% of deaths, what is that saying? Like, that means our guys are learning more about firefighting. They're learning
how to do it safely.
Hey, recognizing the indicators of, hey, we're probably gonna have to get out of here, or hey, this is something we shouldn't be going in on. And that's a good sign that guys are pretty intelligent. There's a lot of intelligent firefighters out there, and I love seeing those numbers go down. I love seeing those numbers just keep decreasing because we're just getting smarter and smarter with each one. You can't just come out and mandate and do laws on every single one. It comes to every person, every specific firefighter on that scene making the decision of, hey, this is not safe to go in. But when it comes down to fitness, which is over 50% of overexertion, stress, and medical cardiac event, over 50%, you don't really see that type of interest towards taking care of yourself, whether it's a lifestyle change or if it's a physical change.
We are starting to, but it's very slow.
It's very slow. Exactly.
It's not like I don't want to call it like a sexy topic, like, you know what I mean? But it's more personal topic as opposed to like what you were saying when it's like, direct attack versus indirect attack or whatever. Like, people get into that kind of stuff. I mean, I make the joke I know you've heard me make it on Clubhouse probably a few times. Like, I use a pistol grip nozzle for 17 years and every fire I went to has gone out. I don't know, man. I think we can do it with them, guys. Like, we don't need to argue about this. Like, I've seen near fist fights over this stupidity. But that's because that's like that sexier topic where when it's like, let's talk about your sodium intake. Like, nobody wants to do that, and that level of it too, that, you have more guys going to get checked out, because that's another thing. You can be the most fittest person in the world and still have some cardiac abnormality that if you're not going to get an annual physical, you're not going to know about. And then you go to that fire and your heart rate jacks. That's it. That's how heart attacks happen. We're just trying to do everything we can to prevent them from happening. An eye-opening thing for me with the 555 journey was seeing how many firefighters went to fires, performed at the fire, came back to the firehouse or went home in like that volunteer aspect or their shift ended, and then had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Right.
And it really got me thinking, like, heart rate, like paramedic mind, like heart rate skyrockets. They never recovered. their heart never recovered from that skyrocket. It was still pounding. They may look fine, but their heart's still pounding probably 8 million miles a minute, and it just can't do that. And that's where when I think about that, like high intensity training, like I'm training my heart rate. I wear the watch by that company you don't like, and I look at my heart rate, and as it runs up there, I'm running at 170, 180 in a workout. You know what I mean? Or same as if I go to a fire. Think about that guy who's on the couch all day. My resting is like 62. Their resting is probably 110. What do they do when their heart rate is at a fire? You know what I mean? So it's all these things you put together that if we can keep teaching these young kids this, hopefully it prevents future incidents from happening.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's awesome.
The company you like makes a watch like this too, so you could get one of those if you want.
Oh, I know. I just don't like spending money.
It's fireman. Typical fireman.
Yeah. Is it free somewhere? No.
Appeal to 555 Fitness for firemen. One of the first things we came to, how are we going to appeal to people? Free workouts. The workouts are always free. There you go. What's your excuse now, buddy? Huh? What do you got? No
equipment. I need a watch. Send me a watch. Yeah. Maybe a cup of water with it too.
When I get the deal with Apple, then I'll send you a watch. Okay, I'm working on it. We're
going to talk.
You heard it here. Here, they take this trash. I don't need it. I don't need it till time. I got a phone. My phone can take pictures of the moon. Just saying. I don't know if yours can.
It sure can.
It sure can. Not good quality. Oh, Pip, do you have anything else you want to plug into near the end of it? I feel like this would be a great.
Oh, geez. See, this is the next part too, where it's like, do you have anything you want to plug? Like, I hate plugging myself in all these things. I plug 555 all the time. Yeah, be conceited. I just can't. With 555, the first round of grant is over with right now. But we are opening up 2 more times this year. So I gotta look because I don't want to give the wrong dates out, and I'm the worst. I have the worst memory ever, so I pulled them up here. But June 1st to July 1st, September 1st to October 1st are the grant dates. Again, any public safety agency can apply. I suggest applying. People ask like, well, we never get anything. Apply. You never know. You never know what we're looking for. I don't pick the winner. No one on my team picks the winners. We have a rating scale. The top rated grants, the 5 top rated grants, go to an independent panel of judges with all the personal information redacted. So the judges never see you guys are from Indiana. Just last year, 2 grant winners were from Indiana. I'm like, how in the world did this happen? Like, how you guys are killing it.
All we have is cornfields.
That's it.
We don't have
and
gym
fitness equipment. And now you have gym equipment from 555.
People, that's what it is.
That's it. The good writers. They're very good writers. They tell a good story, I suppose. But those are the types of things like apply. We also have grants that come up throughout the year that private companies like MSA or Zoll, Dingus Fire out of Illinois, or other not-for-profits like Never Forgotten Games or VetWad last year, they want to help us donate fitness equipment. So we use our grants to help kind of narrow that down. So you have to apply. You got to be in it to win it. Another cool addition this year is that the people who write the grants, the people who take the time out of their lives to try to make the people around them better, the top 5 this year are going to win a Blitz belt, which is a lifting belt by a company called Blitz Belt. They're going to win a 6-month membership to Street Parking, which is the programming that I follow right now. It's an online programming company. Oh, geez, and there's something else now. See, Pip, you forgot what the other thing was when you're supposed to. I should have wrote them down.
Hey, we're here for you, buddy. You take it.
But it's one of those things, like they're going to win those things just for making it to the top 5. We really wanted to give something to those folks to say like, hey, you are taking the time out to make the folks around your department better. And I think that's a great thing. So here's some more cool stuff for you,
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I think you guys are doing great work. Do you guys call it 555 Fitness or just 555 Fitness?
555.
555 fitness sounds like it's nice and smooth.
You like 555? We don't use 555 too much. Usually I just say it's 555 now. It's just 555. It's kind of like a star. Are you anti-Starbucks or for Starbucks? You're against so many corporate companies I've named so far. Can I say Starbucks or no? Like,
sure. I don't like Starbucks either. I don't. I'm just kidding. You can say whatever you want. I don't care. I'll just tell you
I know, but I want us to be friends and have a relationship. We clearly have nothing in common except for maybe liking to lift. So I want to make sure I don't offend you.
We have a lot in common. You have a ton in common.
Look at
I just don't like half the stuff you like. That's okay.
So it's a typical fireman relationship. It's a good bromance if that's the way. Fireman romance right there.
For sure. If I ever want to send you a gift, I know what I can send you. Starbucks gift cards. Cut in half. I'll cut them in half for you. There you go.
I use the Starbucks analogy, how they just kept reducing their logo. Now I feel like we can just be 555. Like we don't even need the fitness in there. Because I look at our name and I'm like, our name sucks because people think we're a fitness company. We should have been the 555 Fitness Foundation because people don't believe we're a not-for-profit. I have to explain that whole part. I mean, people in the fitness world, when I meet them, they're like, so what do you run this 555 for a living? And I'm like, nah, I'm a fireman in New Jersey. Like I work, if you look on my social media, I'll put on for 24 and I'll put a post of the fire engine or something like that. Like, I'm like, I go to work every 72 hours for 24 of them. I spend them in a firehouse. This isn't my company that I'm running.
They got that bougie shift.
Bougie. You guys use that term a lot?
Only 3 days off. 3 days off.
3 days off.
24/72.
See, math is hard, okay?
Math is hard.
3 days.
I'm stuck on this bougie term. The only time I've heard of bougie is the guidance tube thing that goes down the throat for airway. You guys say
you're a smart EMT. Yeah, we can intubate with a bougie.
Oh, it's only because a medical director loves saying it. Bougie. Take the bougie.
We drink bougie coffee on my shift, and we have a bougie shift, a 24/72. We're a 4 platoon system here in New Jersey. Nobody likes us. Nobody likes us for that.
Well, that's okay.
That 3 days off must be nice, though.
Yeah, what is it like having 3 days off?
It's pretty awesome, actually. I'm not gonna lie, but there's another thing too that I don't know if you know James Gearing, Behind the Shield podcast.
I've heard the behind.
I mean, he's been around for a minute. He's on like
I've watched one of his podcasts. Yes,
he's on episode 400 or something. I think I was episode 17 and 53. You know what I mean? But one thing that he talks about is the 24/48 schedule and how you're never recovering. Mm-hmm. Like how I have this extra day, and I never thought about it, but you're either always coming from or going to work, and then you have the folks with I don't know, do you guys have a Kelly day or no? Or do you know Kelly?
No.
So you guys are always doing that where I have that day and I need that day. You know what I mean? I need that extra day in the middle. I didn't even realize it because it's just what we've always done here, but how horrible that can be to your sleep cycle, to your physical fitness, to your overall wellness, to all that. And James talks a lot about that, but again, something else that someone in a podcast put out there. And even when he first started talking about it, I'm like, bro, come on, man. What are you talking about? It's just a fireman schedule. That's what you do. But then I started to realize, even for me, I am sleep deprived. You know what I mean? And I have the good schedule, but I worked yesterday and I don't get the best sleep at work. So today, at this point today, I'm kind of dragging. Mm-hmm. So now I'm about to get into my workout to kind of power me through to get to tonight's sleep, where tomorrow I wake up and I'm like, let's go. What are we doing? We're doing this. We're doing that. So that's another huge thing that when you look at these platforms that we all have, what you can learn about what other people do.
For sure. Yeah. And that's awesome actually that you bring that up because I've spoken with my officer about it and he kind of educated me on it. I'm like, you know what? That's actually pretty true. As soon as you're getting off work for us with the 24/48, as soon as you're getting off, if you've not slept that much that night, I mean, we start at 6 a.m. If you haven't slept that much that night, then you're off for your day. If you got a part-time job, you're working all day long. You come home, if you got a wife and kids you got to take care of, and you're spending till 10 o'clock at night taking care of them. Now you're going back to bed. You got to wake back up at 6, 7 in the morning. You're still sleep deprived.
Yeah.
And then by that time, you never can catch up. And then that next night, the day before you go into shift, you're mentally prepping for that next day. I don't know how many guys often do that. I know I do that because I'm always just sit there and I'm like, okay, what am I doing tomorrow?
Yeah. What's tomorrow going to be like?
Yeah. And then you start thinking that again, and then you start all over again.
Yeah.
And then whenever you catch like a, vacation time and then you're just off, and you're just so happy. I'm like, I want to be this happy all the time. I'd rather just, I don't know.
You don't even realize it. I tell people that. I'm like, I didn't realize I was sleep deprived until I started learning about it and being like, oh, this isn't how you're supposed to feel. This is what this feeling is that I have right now. It doesn't help as you get older, and it doesn't help as you promote either, because then there's a whole different responsibility level that comes in that you're thinking about in that preparation. Like, am I going to be in the reserve engine tomorrow? What's going to happen here? What's going to be this? And that ties right in to this overall health and wellness that we all kind of talk about. So,
yep.
So
awesome. Well, sir, thank you so much for coming on.
Not a sir.
I really appreciate it.
It's just Pip.
Sir Pip. Okay.
I have not been knighted.
Love Starbucks.
Yeah.
Despite the belief of some people in the fire service, I have not been knighted in any way, shape, or form. There's been nothing bestowed upon me. Just Pip.
Oh, really? Oh, I was told otherwise. Well, we both really appreciate the fact that you took some time out of your day to talk with us. I know I really enjoyed it. I'm sure Ryan really enjoyed it. And I hope the viewers and listeners really enjoyed it as well. So, sir, thank you so much. Where can people find you at?
Sure. The easiest place to find me is on Instagram at 555pip. Obviously, follow at 555fitness on Instagram, Facebook. That's really our two main places. If you need to reach out to me and I don't answer on Instagram, it's pip at 555fitness.com. And you can learn how to apply for the grant. We have loads of workout programs for free at 555fitness.org. So that's where all the information is there for that.
Awesome.
I think that's all of them. Stop calling me sir, damn it.
Sir.
Just Pip.
Sire. All right. Well, thank you so much again. I'm going to go ahead and close this out, but we'll stick on afterwards, okay?
Sweet, man. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Oops.
You just delete it all?